The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey! Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot, and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink it and criminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
We love it.
All right, good day, tokers and tokettes, and welcome to the show. It is Thursday, October 10th, 2013, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. We have got all sorts of great information for you today on the show, and we're going to start off with our 420 radio news headlines. We got news from Seattle, news from Denver, and even some news from Uruguay and Israel. We're going all around the world in the news today, also in Behind the Headlines, so make sure you stick around and check that out. We've also got 20 after our 420 daily toker tunes for Groovin' Thursday, although Bago Schwago's got to take the day off today. Yesterday was his birthday, and so today he's still recovering. That gives me a chance to play some live music for you from a group that I am so excited just announced a big tour they're going on. It's the Wooten Brothers. If you've never heard of the Wooten Brothers, you have got to stick around for this music. These musicians are incredible, and seeing them live, I've seen Victor 3 or 4 times live, and it just blows my mind every time I see him. So stay tuned for that at 20 after. Then at our half past break, or a little past it because the music's kind of long today, we're going to have one of our own calling in for our cannabis community chat. Fran Janik out of Vermont is going to be calling us to give us an update on what's going on with their dispensary regulations and their medical marijuana program. So stay tuned for that. And then at the end of the show, time for a radical rant. I've got to ask why in the world we are jailing that doctor in Colorado, the medical marijuana doctor, when marijuana is legal for recreational purposes. Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. Then we're going to take it into hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. You remember that story that we brought you yesterday on Stephen Colbert doing a segment on the America giving up on the war on weed that featured the Seattle police giving away the Doritos with the instructions at HempFest? Well, the Seattle Police Department has responded to Stephen Colbert with their own open letter. I'll be reading that to you in hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. It's pretty dang funny. Then we've also got a deeper look at that Israeli pot politics and a stupid stoner story from a man who ran into a cop on his bike. And it gets stupider from there. All that and more is coming up on the Russ Belville Show. Thanks for being here. Become a 420 Radio VIP today, and you can get downloads to our daily Toker tunes and access to our Toker Talk Radio replays. Be back with the news.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition. I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember ncc420.com. That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
This is your 420 Radio News for Thursday, October 10th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. Israeli opposition leader Shelly Yakimovich admits to smoking pot, from the Los Angeles Times. Asking politicians whether they ever smoke pot can produce answers that range from silly to squirming, but when Israeli opposition leader Shelly Yakimovich was asked the question this week, she just said yes. In an interview broadcast Wednesday on the Knesset channel, the 53-year-old lawmaker said she had smoked marijuana on a number of occasions as a younger woman, the last time about 16 years ago. She is the first senior Israeli politician to make such an admission. State Supreme Court hears challenge to rulings in drug testing scandal, from PatriotLedger.com. The Massachusetts State Highest Court heard arguments Thursday on a challenge to a ruling that made it easier for those convicted of drug charges to have their cases thrown out because of the state drug lab scandal. Disgraced state chemist Annie Dukin had been charged with falsifying tests on drug samples taken to the Hinton lab in Jamaica Plain. Thousands of cases have been affected by the scandal, and many convictions have been reversed. The court could choose from a sliding scale, vacating all guilty pleas where Dukin was the primary chemist, vacating all pleas where she was involved in the drug testing, vacating all pleas that involved samples from the lab when she worked there, even up to vacating all pleas that involved the lab impugned by its inability to stop Dukin's behavior. Alternatively, the court could rule that conviction reversals are permissible only in cases where a defendant can prove Dukin falsified results. Denver mayor wants to stop free joint handouts, from CBS Local Denver. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock wants to update city ordinances to ban free joint handouts in city parks. Hancock tells Colorado Public Radio that he and City Councilman Chris Nevitt will introduce an ordinance on Monday that would better define the city's ban on public consumption of marijuana. The ordinance would emphasize that all Denver city parks are drug-free zones. Public consumption already is outlawed under Colorado's law legalizing recreational marijuana. Seattle police trade barbs with Stephen Colbert over pot and Doritos, from MyNorthwest.com. The Seattle Police Department's newfound tongue-in-cheekiness is on full display again, thanks to some shots across the bow from Stephen Colbert. Colbert took aim at the Seattle Police Department's highly publicized distribution of Doritos at last summer's Hempfest in a segment lambasting America's supposed surrender in the war on drugs. Seattle Police Department's Media Relations Department fired back a faux commentary of its own in an open letter to Colbert and his TV Nation. We will read that letter to you in full in Hour 2's Toker Talk Radio. Are marijuana gardens destroying history? From the Times Standard Online. The recent discovery of a marijuana growing operation that disturbed an archaeological site has some wondering if this might be more common than anyone wants to think. Growers want locations with southern exposure, warm weather, and nearby water sources. American Indians looked for the same things when locating villages and camps. The Humboldt County Sheriff's Office has identified 4,100 marijuana cultivation sites throughout the county this year alone, and those sites are sprinkled over an area with a very rich and populous American Indian history. Humboldt County Sheriff Office Lieutenant Steve Knight said it's an issue most deputies probably weren't even aware of. Officials were contacting local tribes and archaeologists to figure out the next steps and what they should be, as well as what laws are applicable to the situation. Legal marijuana trend spreads as more states weigh votes, from Bloomberg.com. Voter support for legal marijuana in Washington and Colorado is spurring similar campaigns in California and 3 other states that together may bring pot within lawful reach of almost 1 in 5 Americans. Advocates are seeking the signatures of registered voters in California, Arizona, Oregon, and Alaska, with a combined population of 49 million, to put the question on ballots in 2014. Colorado and Washington last year legalized marijuana for 12.1 million people. This has been your 420 Radio News for Thursday, October 10th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the headlines and look at Aerosmith's latest visit to Uruguay and their praise for President Jose Mujica's plan to legalize marijuana. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.
Cannabis Outreach Collective is an alternative health and wellness option located in Gladstone, Oregon, that serves patients in the Portland area and beyond. We are a full-service alternative health and wellness collective accommodating patients with natural, organic, holistic, and homeopathic remedies, nutritional guidance, advice, education, and medical cannabis, fully in accordance with Oregon OMMP law. You can find out more about Cannabis Outreach Collective on Facebook at COC503 or by emailing cannabisoutreachcollective503@gmail.com or by telephone at 503-853-1319. Check out our menu on Weed Maps and visit Cannabis Outreach Collective today. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org. Let 'em bring in the beat. We've got a great late-night lineup at 10 p.m. Pacific weekdays here at 420radio.org. But if you missed any of those shows, you can catch their replays early Saturday morning, beginning at 6 a.m. with the Drug Truth Network. At 7 a.m., Cannabis Cure TV. At 8 a.m., Green Stream Podcast. And at 9 a.m., Hemp Beach TV. Right here on 420radio.org. Welcome back, everyone. Time to go behind the headlines and my latest post up at hightimes.com.
focuses on one of the, the favorite band of one of my dear friends in Denver, Colorado. B's going to love this story. It's about Aerosmith and their lead singer, Steven Tyler. They're in Uruguay. They did a concert last night, and they held a 3-hour meeting with President Jose Mujica at the presidential offices there. Kind of unheard of to meet for 3 hours with the president, but a lot of good news coming out of this between Aerosmith's frontman Steven Tyler, who praised the leadership of President Jose Mujica in making that country the first to legalize marijuana. They haven't done it yet, but Jose Mujica has been leading the way. Tyler said, quote, "Your president is a freedom fighter, and in many ways, we fight for freedom ourselves with music," end quote. Now, Aerosmith performed at the stadium in Montevideo and called Mujica, quote, "one of the best presidents in the Americas," end quote. And they cited not only his efforts to legalize marijuana, but his selfless devotion to the poor. Steven Tyler added, quote, "Mujica gives 70% of his salary for people's homes. Here in this small country, Uruguay, I think he's doing it the right way, grassroots, and we believe in that," end quote. Uruguay made international headlines when its legislature's lower house voted in favor of a marijuana legalization bill supported by Mujica. The bill is now on its way to the upper house for a vote, and should it pass there, Mujica is sure to sign it. While countries like the Netherlands and Portugal in Europe and other South American countries like Argentina and Peru have tolerated personal use, Uruguay would become the first country to legalize not only possession of marijuana, but its cultivation and sale. Now, according to Uruguay's presidential press office, President Mujica has donated more than $300,000 of his salary to Plan Juntos, which is a program that provides free homes and medical care to mostly single mothers. Often referred to as the world's poorest president, Mujica came into office in 2010, claiming his entire personal wealth consisted of a 1987 Volkswagen Beetle. He certainly does not have the trappings of most world leaders with a presidential palace and motorcade and such. Mujica still lives on a small flower farm that's listed in his wife's name. Now, President Mujica's got an interesting background. He began his political career as a leftist guerrilla fighter with Movimiento de Liberación Nacional Tupamaros, which is an urban group, mostly known as Tupamaros, that staged bank robberies back in the 1960s. And when they robbed the banks, they then take the proceeds and distributed them to the poor. Later on, they got involved in more militant guerrilla actions, political kidnappings and the such. And he was captured. He was part of that group and was captured by government forces and ended up spending 14 years in prison, a lot of it in solitary confinement. And he also, of course, was tortured there in prison. And during his incarceration, he explains that he came to realize that violent revolution, armed revolution, was not the way to permanent, lasting change. And that's when he dedicated himself to helping the poor and doing it through political systemic change. And wow, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's made his way all the way from poverty to the presidency down there in Uruguay. Now, during this uncommon 3-hour meeting with the president, Steven Tyler and the band presented Mujica with an electric guitar that was autographed by all the members of Aerosmith. In true Mujica fashion, he plans to auction it off to benefit a charity that provides building materials for the poor. Boy, it's great to be able to tell a story like that of a sitting president who is in full-throated support for legalization. And this is true political leadership on his part, because the people of Uruguay, by and large, don't support legalization. The polls I've seen have been 60% against legalization in that country, and yet he is marshaling the political force necessary to be able to pass that bill in the lower house. It's currently awaiting review in the upper house, their version of the Senate. And again, if it makes it through there, Uruguay could become the first country in the entire world to legalize the production, the sale, and the use of marijuana for recreational purposes. We'll keep you informed on that and all the happenings all throughout the Western Hemisphere, throughout Europe. Anywhere we can get the news on cannabis, we'll have it for you right here at 420 Radio News. If you've got a news tip, visit our contact page at 420radio.org/contact and let us know today. We can always use as much help as we can possibly get. All right, well, it's 20 after here, and we've got our good friend Brian the Red joining us. So, Brian, I think we should celebrate.
Indeed, time flies.
And Microsoft went and broke our clock.
Yeah, bastards.
Dang it.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
I'm a reefer smoking man.
Wood Pipe Smoke Shop and Speakeasy is your source for cannabis community gear in southern Wisconsin. Owners Brian and Tammy Wood are located in Kendall, just outside of Madison, and they've got everything for the smoking enthusiast, including a full assortment of pipes, water pipes, hookahs, bubblers, one-hitters, and so much more. They're open noon to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and can help you with your detoxification therapies as well. Call 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com for more information. That's 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com. And as always, go Pack Go.
I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a journalist.
I'm a student.
I'm a teacher.
I'm a representative.
I have cancer.
The outdated laws of prohibition are more dangerous than the plant itself.
I lost my scholarship.
I was fired.
20 million arrests since 1965. This is getting ridiculous. Our prisons are overcrowded with non-violent offenders.
We have the opportunity to change.
This is costing our country billions of dollars.
Making my family and I fight in a courtroom is difficult enough when I'm already fighting through chemotherapy.
There's no reason to be scared by tradition anymore.
We can stop this. We can stop this.
We are the American people. We can stop this. And you have our support. We are old,
young,
straight,
gay. We're every race and nationality.
And we're not going to give up.
You can tax it.
You can regulate it. Apply age restrictions.
You can create millions of new jobs.
We can save our economy.
President Obama?
It's time for legalization.
Legalization.
Yes.
We
can.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Groovin' Thursday, featuring rap, hip-hop, soul, and funk music. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Welcome back, everybody. Like I mentioned earlier, Bago Schwago has got the day off today, recovering from his birthday. And so I get the chance to bring you the Groovin' Thursday music. Today's music features a person who I revere as a demigod. His name is Victor Wooten. He's the bass player that I first came in contact with by listening to a jazz banjo player by the name of Bela Fleck. Yes, you heard me right. A jazz banjo player. So it's very interesting music. If you get a chance to ever hear it, you'll definitely want to check it out and listen closely. It definitely requires a lot of attention. It's not the kind of music you can just put on in the background. But anyway, Victor Wooten, as far as bass player goes, is someone whose talent is just remarkable. And it turns out that everyone else in his family is just as knocked out as he is. It's just amazing. His brothers all featured on this next track, recorded live. It's the Wooten Brothers. And I bring this up because the Wooten Brothers announced that they're going to be going on tour this summer, and I can't wait to catch a show. I sure hope they make their way to Portland. If you hear of the Wooten Brothers making their way to your city or anywhere near, Make the drive. Go see these guys play. No matter what kind of music you like, you've got to appreciate the musicianship of these guys. All right, let's get it on. I can't wait for the music. This is the Wooten Brothers, all 5 recorded live.
Ever wonder how often to change your bong water? The most effective method for baking pot brownies? The best destinations for a ganja getaway? How to hide herb in your car? Whether to grow your own? How precisely to legalize it? Or how something as wonderful as marijuana ever got to be illegal in the first place? Finally, you can find all these answers and much more in the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook, featuring 420 things to do when you're stoned. Since 1974, High Times magazine has covered marijuana in all its aspects and wonders, from cultivation to legalization to the herb's enduring and exalted place in popular culture. Packed with inside information, the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook rolls all of this collected wisdom together into a single indispensable ganja guide, including an entertaining look at marijuana's history, profiles of herb-friendly travel destinations and festivals, favorite potluck recipes from the High Times staff, smoking skills, advocacy and activism, essential marijuana movies and songs, profiles of famous cannabis strains, comprehensive growing information, celebrity endorsements, and much more. This is truly, finally, the ultimate guide to green living.
Got a comment, question, complaint, or request for 420radio.org? Visit our contact page at 420radio.org/contact today.
The cannabis community includes a diverse set of activists and nonprofits working to end the prohibition of marijuana. We take the time to hear the stories of reform on the Russ Belville Show's Cannabis Community Chat.
Welcome back, everyone. 34 after the hour, and we're joined now by Fran Janik from the state of Vermont. He's a registered patient there and a photographer that I got to work with in Boston at the Freedom Rally. How you doing, Fran?
Great, Russ. Great. Hello from the Green Mountain State.
Yes, so glad to hear from you. Of course, Vermont being one of the medical marijuana states, but a lot of people don't understand that there's medical marijuana states and then there's medical marijuana states. And Vermont's program has been, characterized by fits and starts and not a whole lot of people on the program. And as I understand it, you don't even recognize glaucoma as a condition in Vermont. Is that right?
Yes, Russ, that's actually correct. And I do suffer from glaucoma.
What a damn shame. All right. So let's talk about the dispensary system there in Vermont, because I understand there's been some news developments going on there.
Well, we currently have 3 dispensaries in operation, with a 4th coming on board. There's a question as to who has the license at this time, though.
Yeah, and what's going on as far as getting? So we got 3 dispensaries for the entire state. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're actually approaching. We're over 800 patients and approaching 1,000 patients, and I truly believe there are certainly more people that use medicinally that simply haven't signed up due to the restrictions in the program.
Yeah, and what are some of these restrictions that are causing so much problems?
Well, in Vermont, as you know, many people own firearms, so they don't want to lose their Second Amendment rights. That would be a big one for sure. And then the limitations on the amount of cannabis allowed per patient.
And what is that current limitation?
Mostly it's if you're growing, you're going to be limited to 2 mature plants and 7 immature plants, which doesn't give you on an indoor grow a great deal of cannabis for the cost.
Yeah, and especially if you're depending on just 2 mature plants, it seemed to me that the possibility of something going wrong with the harvest is much more of a risk.
Well, yes. So right about now, I understand that about 51% of the individuals enrolled in the program have chosen to go with dispensaries, but we do have the rest that are growing on their own. And they're not allowed a voucher if their crop fails or is stolen.
So is that the situation then in Vermont where a patient is forced to choose one or the other?
Yes, you lose your right to grow if you choose a dispensary. You're relying on that dispensary, and if they have a problem, as some have already, then you're limited.
So a patient who can't get enough access at the dispensary can't grow their own, and a patient who grows their own who might have a problem with the crop can't shop at the dispensary.
That is correct.
Wow.
And the situation is such that the cost of the dispensary is somewhat of a problem for most of the low-income patients.
Are we talking like street prices for cannabis there?
The cost of what I could figure right now to be the actual cost of medicinal cannabis to patients is hovering around $250 an ounce for a high-grade cannabis.
Wow. All right. So we're speaking with Fran Janik, who's a registered patient in the state of Vermont and a longtime listener to our 420 radio channel here. You can find him as MediGrow Vermont in our chat room. And I want to encourage folks, get involved with our community here at 420 Radio, because there's a lot of very intelligent, hardworking activists. That's really what we're about here, is we're kind of an activist network, and you're going to pick up a lot of tips and tricks from these people. So, Fran, as far as these dispensaries go, the three, you've got three in the state. Is that just mandated by laws, or any chance of ever getting another dispensary?
Well, actually, 4 are mandated by law, and they're trying to get someone to take the 4th license. I had heard 2 stories, so I won't pass them along right now because I don't know which one's correct. But there are some people interested at this time, and hopefully the 4th one will be in Brattleboro, Vermont.
You know, I understand in Colorado they've got difficulties because of the way the law's been written to basically protect against people swooping in from out of state with large investments. They're giving first dibs on the recreational market to the medical providers and so on. Are there any such restrictions in Vermont that are keeping the 4th dispensary license from getting picked up by someone?
No, I would say that the main problem is getting organized and then getting the funding for it. You are tithing, I think, $30,000 per dispensary to the state, which is the way they run the program right now.
Wow. Okay. And at last count, did you have a measure of how many patients we have in the Vermont program?
We're over 800 on our way to 9. I can say that confidently. We will approach 1,000. I think there's a lot more people interested.
Yeah, all right. So there's also been talk about the next states that may be on deck for legalization of recreational use of marijuana. What do you see brewing in the next 2 to 4 years as far as that goes in Vermont?
I just had a discussion with somebody on that, and my information tells me that every 2 years we're going to get a move in Vermont. It's kind of the way the state goes. So we're looking at 2016 for legalization.
All right. Well, I sure hope that takes place there. Vermont's been a leader in a lot of ways as far as medical marijuana goes in the Northeast, and now with the rest of the New England states starting to get on board with medical and pushing toward legalization of marijuana, there's much better chance of that happening. So, Fran, before we let you go, is there anything else we need to know about what's happening news-wise as far as the state of Vermont and marijuana reform?
Well, yes, actually, Russ, I think we discussed this in the chat a while back, but I'll put it out there one more time just so all the registered patients know that the state of Vermont Department of Financial Regulation, Division of Insurance, through the Commissioner Susan L. Donegan, has made a ruling that anyone that is insured for their cannabis grow, for their medicinal cannabis grow, any registered patient that is, cannot be refused their insurance should they suffer a loss of their grow through, I would imagine, fire, but I know theft.
That's right. That
That
was the big news that we wanted to make sure people knew about this. It was a precedent-setting case, right?
Yes, it is absolutely a precedent-setting case, and they were glad to get a chance to do this. They felt that this was going to come up in the future a number of times, and hopefully patients will then get their medicine in a timely manner.
Can you share what the value is of plants when you're claiming them on insurance?
Yeah, well, actually, what the value is the maximum allowable in the policy. That's the way they actually ruled on it. I know plants have been paid for mature plants where insurance was covering up to $1,000 a plant. They've been paid $1,000 for the mature plants and then $100 for the immature. But it is really based on the insurance that you have at that time. If there's one more thing I'd like to add, Russ, is that if 5 towns in the state of Vermont would put it on the town meeting in March to legalize and tell the governor, I believe we could get more action previous to 2016. There you go.
There we go. Let's get active in Vermont. And if you want more information, get involved here in our 420radio.org forums. Join our chat room. You can get involved there. Just type /login to create an account. And folks like MediGrow will help you get organized, man. Thanks for joining us here, and thanks for suggesting the segment, man. We appreciate getting these local pictures of what's going on.
Thanks for having me, Russ.
All right, when we come back, time for a radical rant. Why are we firing? Why are we jailing a pot doc in Colorado? It makes no sense. Right back with the radical rant.
It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
Marijuana and alcohol are the two most popular recreational drugs in America. Marijuana smoking is non-toxic, relatively safe, and has a low risk of dependence. Alcohol drinking is potentially fatal, dangerous to society, and is quite addictive. Marijuana is safer, so why are we driving people to drink? That's the question of the new book, Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink? By Paul Armentano, Mason Tvert, and Steve Fox. Visit Amazon.com or ChelseaGreen.com today to order your copy of Marijuana is Safer, or visit MarijuanaIsSafer.com.
Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they...
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical rant. Why are they jailing a pot doc in Colorado? CBS Local Denver reported the story of Dr. Joseph Montante this week. He was convicted in a Colorado court of recommending medical marijuana to a patient without first establishing a bona fide doctor-patient relationship. Dr. Montante was stripped of his medical license and sentenced to 30 days in jail and 3 years probation. In Colorado, where marijuana is legal for recreational purposes. So why exactly do we need to jail this man and ruin his career? Law enforcement brought down this nefarious threat to society by sending in an undercover officer to get a recommendation from Montante. Yes, less than half of all violent crimes and less than a fifth of all property crimes lead to an arrest in America, but we've got all the police time and resources we need to conduct undercover stings on pot docs in a legalized pot state. Now, this rant doesn't go quite the same if I'm telling the story in Washington. Sure, it's both medical and legal there too, but there is quite a difference. Recreational consumers in Washington can possess an ounce of marijuana, but medical consumers can possess 1.5 pounds. Recreational consumers in Washington don't get the home cultivation right that medical consumers in the state get, which amounts to 15 plants in any stage of growth. The only similarity between Washington and Colorado in this regard is that medical consumers in both states can shop for cannabis at established retail outlets, while recreational users can't yet. Higher possession limits, home cultivation, and dispensaries, well, that all provides great incentive for a recreational consumer to go medical in Washington. In Colorado, however, there really isn't that much of a difference between a recreational and a medical consumer. A recreational consumer gets 1 ounce, a medical consumer gets 2. Both of them are allowed to grow 3 mature plants and 3 immature plants. There are the well-established dispensaries, more than Starbucks, where medical consumers get to shop and recreational consumers don't. It would seem then the purpose of the undercover stings is to make sure recreational consumers stay out on the black market until the pot shops open? Okay, well then weed dealers throughout the Rocky Mountains say thank you. And as an aside, isn't that more dispensaries than Starbucks line getting old? It's not even relevant. They're comparing the number of sales outlets for cannabis versus one sales outlet for coffee. Shouldn't we be comparing the number of places you can legally buy a bag of weed to the number of places you can legally buy a cup of Joe? Anyway, of course there is more to it than making sure a healthy person who can buy illegally, have 1 ounce, and grow plants isn't faking it, so he can buy legally, have 2 ounces, and grow the same number of plants. Because, you know me, I've forgotten the most important part of this equation: the children. Drug investigators say the doctor's supervision is incredibly important, reports CBS Local Denver, because although 18 to 21-year-olds are not eligible for recreational pot, they are eligible for medical marijuana. Aha. So we had to jail this pot doc and ruin his career to protect college kids from seeing a doctor and paying the state for a privilege they will attain 1 to 3 years from now. Okay, I got it. Except, when you really think about it, there's always been an incentive for an 18 to 20-year-old in Colorado to get a red card. Their recreational use was just as illegal before Amendment 64 as it is now. In fact, it's less incentive now because young people that age often have 21-year-old friends. I mean, so long as everyone hands their weed to the 21-year-old and it's all less than 1 ounce combined, nobody's going to jail. So I thought, maybe we ought to just look up the numbers. Let's see what's happened with the 18 to 20-year-olds in the state of Colorado. So I took a look at the National Survey on Drug Use and Health online, and I found that in the 2002-2003 survey year, 29% of 18 to 20-year-olds smoke pot monthly in Colorado, just the state of Colorado, and another 13% smoked pot annually. In the most recent 2010 to 2011 survey, a tiny bit fewer smoked monthly and a tiny bit greater smoked annually. But surprisingly, the young adults who didn't ever try pot increased by 2.6 percentage points. So during that time, the number of people with red cards increased dramatically. It doesn't appear as if that changed young adult use any. So what again is this huge emergency that required an undercover sting operation and the imprisonment of a doctor? This concern about the children seems like a little bit of a rationalization to me. It's not like they sent in 21 Jump Street to investigate the doctor. The daring undercover detective assigned to the case lied to Dr. Montante by claiming he hurt his ankle several years ago playing basketball in high school. Several is generally thought of as more than 3 and less than 10, and high school age is 14 to 18. So my guess is that the detective did not present an identity under the age of 21. Now, once the pot shops open in Colorado, I can't really see much of a reason for a recreational system to run alongside a medical system, especially as the medical dispensaries in Colorado get first dibs on becoming the pot shops. And yet, Colorado is going to be running two completely separate systems, to the point where if you're one of the shops that's a combination medical and recreational shop, you'll have to maintain two completely separate lines of inventory and tracking. My God, we can't have a gram from the White Widow medicinal plant getting mixed up with a gram from the White Widow recreational plant, because then, I don't know, zombie apocalypse? What happens if that happens? I don't know. So another consideration is in the Colorado law, they allow you, whether you're recreational or medical, to grow 3 mature plants and 3 immature plants, and to keep the results of your harvests at the grow site. And those plurals are very important. These are the results. All that you grew, you can keep at your grow site from every harvest that you have. And if you're rotating 3 plants in every however many weeks you can do that, you could potentially have a whole lot of weed in a very short time. So since everybody who's growing at home in Colorado can keep the results of his or her harvest, there's really no limit to the amount of medicine a patient could keep on hand, even without getting a red card. There's really no incentive for the heavy chronic recreational user to go medical, because they can keep all the weed at the place they need and be able to grow it without going through the hassle of seeing the doctor. So long as this separate medical system is maintained, somebody has to be the gatekeeper. And if so, we're going to keep seeing stories of doctors like Dr. Montante doing time, losing their license, because some court didn't think their examination of an undercover cop was thorough enough. And this just seems absurd to me in the state of Colorado, which now has a constitutional right that recognizes the personal right to use and grow cannabis. What purpose remains for keeping a medical marijuana system in the state of Colorado? I can think of maybe a few. Maybe you keep your red card so that you can have that extra ounce. That's, I'm sure, valid for some people. Maybe you keep your red card so that you can take advantage of the reciprocity that is offered in, 5 or 6 other states now with their medical marijuana systems. Maybe it's 7 now. But that could be a possibility as to why you want to keep this. But it seems to me the hassles that we put in forcing all of the retail outlets to maintain 2 completely separate systems, and the potential for the sliver of demographic between 18 and 20 that would want to abuse that system to get in, seems to me that it might not be worth the hassle. Perhaps medical marijuana should just be something that's reserved to people 20 and younger. There are those stories of Charlotte Fiji and the other children that are using the Charlotte's Web strain, the high CBD strain in Colorado. Perhaps that's what medical marijuana is for, is to ensure that people under the age of 21 are using it medically, and exclusively that's for medical. And once you're above the age of 21, we recognize that you have the right to use cannabis for whatever reason you so choose. If the focus were only on keeping people under the age of 21, then perhaps these stings make more sense. But when you're sending in an undercover officer who's clearly not going to be under the age of 21, and he qualifies under the program's chronic pain condition for his ankle pain that he talks about, it makes no sense to me to want to try to stop that doctor. If you're really concerned about the children, you should have been sending in someone with that was underage. But as I understand it, for underage people, and maybe I'm going to have to check the Colorado law on this as to whether it applies to under 21 or under 18, but I was under the understanding that 2 doctors had to sign off in Colorado. Maybe that's why you don't do the undercover sting with someone presenting under the age of 21, because it will be harder to prove your case against 2 doctors not having a bona fide relationship. I'd be interested to find out a little bit more about this case. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this is a completely different scenario in Washington State, where recreational users do not have home grow rights and where the possession limits are completely different between recreational and medical. There you can see quite an incentive for people to want to become medical growers in order to get that home grow right and those large possession amounts. So we'll keep our eye on what's happening in Colorado, keep our eye on Washington State as these things develop. Will medical and recreational be able to coexist? It's something we can talk about in Toker Talk Radio coming up next in Hour 2 of the Russ Belville Show, where you are the voice of the Marijuana Nation, and our phone lines will be open at 971-533-7111. We're also hanging out with Brian the Red here. We'll find out what's going on with him and the Red Eyes Reggae Flashback, which will be coming back very, very soon. Thanks for joining us here from Roller J Studios in beautiful Potland, Oregon. I'm Radical Russ Belville. For Brian the Red and everyone here at 420 Radio, thanks for listening. Log on today and become a VIP member. Help support 420 Radio. Check out our prime sponsors. Support them so they'll continue to support us. And visit our 420 Radio shop where we got all sorts of cool swag, including pins, stickers, posters, and more. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.